Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill, and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are in a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
We are broadcasting from the BlueChew studios. Try BlueChew free when you use our promo code JR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. Hello and welcome to Grilling JR. This is Paul Bromwell, and I'm joined by the voice of wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross. JR, how are you?
I'm great, Paul. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. We're getting a lot of positive feedback on the show we did on Vader. I'm glad to see that. And I got to ask, since the last time you and I spoke, did you get to check out WrestleMania at all?
I did check out parts of it. So, but to tell you and our audience that I watched it all, both days, start to finish, would be untruthful. It was during the basketball tournament, obviously, men and women, so I'm a big fan of both. So I was torn between both those major events, and but I wasn't going to let the WrestleMania event pass by without checking out Stone Cold. He and I talked going into that thing, and we communicated on Saturday after the show. He seemed to be real happy and really almost relieved that they pulled it off. He and Kevin Owens deserve a hell of a lot of credit for what they did. And to show you how kind of ball player Austin is, he had been on the field in what was it, 16 years, 19 years, something
19,
like that.
Yeah.
And he just didn't look like he missed a step. And they kept the match within their lane. I thought that was really smart how they strategized and laid out that match. It was just absolutely a masterpiece in my view. And Kevin Owens deserves a lot of credit as well. You got to have a dancing partner to make these things work. And Steve had a great dancing partner. I saw Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. I'm a big Becky Lynch fan. Helped get her job there back in the day. And I think the world of her. And she's just such a sweetheart. She's another person that reached out to me when my wife got killed. And it's just surprising he comes out of the woodwork and then returns to see, hey, how you doing? You doing okay? You doing better? Whatever. She's a sweetheart of a lady. And she's as over as anybody in the company, excluding Roman Reigns probably. But, she's just amazing. So I did watch WrestleMania, bits and pieces, all of Austin's work. I wasn't aware, and I talked to him earlier today, that he was going to come to be there on Sunday night. I didn't even ask him. He didn't bring it up. So it was a total surprise for me. And I know that for dirt listeners and dirt wanters, dirt needers, they couldn't understand. Well, you didn't ask him what he's going to do? No. Why would I need to know that? If I'm going to go see a John Wayne movie, do I need to know how many people he kills, or how many bullets he took, or whatever? Just let me watch it, okay? Let me form my own opinions, and that's kind of what I did. So I thought the production values of that WrestleMania event was nothing short of epic. The camera shots, the audio, the look of the building,
first class.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I did check it out, and but I selectively checked it out because I was always switching back to basketball.
It was a lot of fun to watch Stone Cold's reaction, just him cracking up when Vince just could not get the timing down for that stunner. It was like the old days all over again.
Yeah, I've done that. I look just like that. I was one of the first people Steve stunned, and unless you've done it or practiced it, and I didn't do either, it's awkward. It doesn't look awkward for somebody that really knows what they're doing, like The Rock. I thought Byron Saxton did a hell of a job. He came in and late inning relief, and I thought he did a nice job. So that was a good moment for him, I thought. And then, of course, Pat McAfee had a great WrestleMania, and he's one of those guys that has unique abilities to identify with the audience. He has done that. His accomplishments in the match he was in, I thought, were far exceeded my expectations. So I congratulated him that night and online on Twitter, I think it was. So anyway, he had a good night too. So there were some really cool performances. Then you look at this whole event in total, it looks as if Austin's done. I'd say he's done. Undertaker seemingly is done. Triple H is done. So there are three of my key guys in the Attitude Era that no longer will be stepping into the proverbial squared circle and lacing them up. So it was a great moment. I congratulate WWE for their success, and I believe that this is true. The better they do, the better AEW does. It really is. People say, "How do you figure that?" Well, there's plenty of money and revenue to go around. Number one, I just remember back in my own personal experiences when the WWF got hot. And started the WrestleMania run, and they got all the publicity and the Saturday night's main event stuff and everything. Our business in Mid-South at that time, there were spots where it helped it. It created more awareness of the genre of pro wrestling. Now you can take your pick. I'm going to a pie shop. What kind of pie are you going to get? I don't know for sure. I'm going to get some pie because I hear it's really good. So that's kind of the deal there. So I enjoyed the whole presentation. I wish it had not been so head up against the NCAA men's and women's basketball championship, because that was the nut cutting time. So, but nonetheless, it was a real cool experience. I'm glad I watched both of them, quite frankly.
The other highlight for me as a fan, JR, was watching Undertaker go into the Hall of Fame and hearing his speech. I don't know if you caught any of that, but my goodness.
I did not, but he and I communicated that weekend, and he thanked me, and I thanked him, and he said, "I always appreciated your wisdom," and I thought that was a hell of a compliment.
He could go on to do public speaking speeches and motivational speeches the way he laid out his acceptance speech. It was phenomenal. So if you do get a chance, I would tell you got to check it out. He was just so impressive. He gave you Mark Calloway, should I say, the man, versus the Undertaker. It was something to behold. So great weekend all around. And like you said, it's good for wrestling. That weekend also, we saw FTR in action. The ROH card happened. That was a lot of fun. Samoa Joe, he's back.
I thought the FTR, who's rapidly elevated themselves to arguably the best tag team in the world. Their match we had recently with the Young Bucks was nothing but stimulating, and I thought it was just terrific. The match they had with the Briscoes, I'd like to see that match returned, because I'd like to call it. I like the Briscoes game. They're really good.
Yeah, I mean, just phenomenal wrestling right now. Like you said, there is a buffet of options and choices, and so much is going on right now in the wrestling business. We're going to get into some more of it as we go through, but this week's show is all about asking JR questions from our listeners. Man, I couldn't wait as I went through some of these questions to do this with you. So with all that out of the way, let's jump in, JR, and we're going to start with a football question. AdFreeShows.com top guy Brad Stanton is going to start us off, and he says, JR, did the Jacksonville Jaguars make the playoffs next year?
Well, we obviously, for those of us that live here in Jacksonville and are so close to the Khan family, who signs my checks, I've become a Jags fan, and I think that this season is really dependent upon the two running backs, Travis Etienne and James Robinson, coming back healthy. They got two really high-level running backs that both got crippled up last year and required surgeries. So how they come back is a big key. What the Jags do with the first pick in the draft, which they have the second year in a row, you don't want to make a habit of that. But at any event, I hope they just maximize it. I don't know what they're going to take. They have a great coaching staff now they didn't have before. You can't even compare Doug Peterson to Urban Meyer. It's not even close. So I haven't answered this guy's question, Brad, but I don't know. I mean, I wish I did know. I'd go to Vegas and bet a bunch of money. But right. If the guys come back healthy on the offensive side, they do a good job in the draft, and this coaching staff does what I think they're going to do. And let's also pay attention to how many on the first day that free agents could be signed. The Jags are very aggressive. Mr. Khan spent a lot of money on free agents. So how those new guys work out, added to the draftees this year, they can be in the hunt. That's my take on it. They can be in the hunt. They just got to have some pieces fall together and make sure everybody's healthy. So let's hope that they do. I know one thing: when they start winning, this town's going to be absolutely lit. Amazing. They're waiting. They're ready. And we got the quarterback. We've always wondered, when's that quarterback coming in? We got the guy. Now it's just a matter of building some pieces around him so he can function better. And one thing that would help him is a running game, obviously. And I just mentioned those two running backs that if they're healthy, it's a different look and feel for the Jags. So fingers crossed. We hope so. We hope they get in the playoffs. That'd be great.
That's why they play the games, JR. But we'll see. The draft's just in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, how everything shakes out there. A lot of speculation. We'll see how it all goes down. Next question. We go from football, one of my favorites, to food. At Free Show's top guy, Mitchell Barnett, asked JR, what's your favorite restaurant to eat at when you're back home in Norman? And I'll take it a level deeper. What's your favorite thing to eat there at that restaurant? So what say you, JR?
Well, my friend Hal Smith owns several restaurants throughout that region. I don't know how many concepts he's got, over 50, and over 50 restaurants. So I go to Charleston's. It's about in Norman. It's about 3 minutes from my house. I could walk there if I wasn't so lazy. That's my go-to. I know when I was in Oklahoma last, I ate there 5 times in 6 days. So I really like it. And I love their homemade soups. I love their, they have great fried chicken. They have great prime rib. They don't do the daily specials. They got a great menu. It's diverse. People go online, look at that Charleston. You may even have a Charleston's in your area. If you do, for goodness sakes, try it out. My favorite restaurant in Oklahoma to eat at, probably other than my friend Hal's places, is the old, I think 50 years or more, Cattleman Steakhouse in the Stockyards district of Oklahoma City. It's famous. Presidents eat there, and wrestling announcers as well. It's all good. So I got my spots, and I got the one thing about Norman being a college town. There's a lot of really good restaurants, and there's a lot of really good talent that are the waiters and waitresses, because they're picking up those tips. So the service is good, food's good, and you just can't go wrong at a Charleston's, no doubt.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
I'm all for it. At freeshows.com, my push member Christoph Hankerson asks, what's the one wrestling match in history that you wish you could have called?
Very easy answer. Mick Foley winning the title for the first time. I was on the injured list, shall we say, with the Bell's palsy issues. And I'd love to have been there to call Foley's first title win. And I know how much it meant to Mick, and therefore I know how much it meant to me. So that would have been cool to be able to, circle this wagon here and connect the dots all the way around. But I missed that opportunity. But there were plenty more that came along after that. But I think the first title win for Foley would have been one I would have loved to have called.
That's a match that'll always be tied to Tony Schiavone when he used the line on Nitro. That'll put butts in seats. So there you go.
Yeah.
And Foley. But hey, you know what? What a huge moment for Mick Foley, and everybody did change the channel, and history was made. So, no, good stuff there. Adfreeshows.com Slapnut Ben Ledbetter says, I know you don't book the venues, but do you know of any future plans for AEW to do a show in Birmingham, Alabama?
No, I don't know of any plans. I know that Birmingham is an established wrestling market. Especially when you go back and look at the territory days, Birmingham was a key component in a couple of different territories. So, yeah, I would say that Birmingham is definitely on the radar. But I'm not, like he said, Ben, I don't work in that area. That's Raphael Morphy's deal. And he's been doing a great job for us, booking the buildings and so forth, right size buildings, the right business deals, right routing, all that stuff. So I don't know of a date. But do I think we'll run Birmingham at some point? Without a doubt.
All right. Now, this guy, I think he's trying to stir you up, make you a little red ass. We'll see. Adfreeshows.com top guy, Matt M. And I can say that because I know Matt. King of the Ring 98, Hell in a Cell, your famous call. They've killed him. Who's they? Undertaker is just one man. Is they the bookers, the industry, us fans for demanding more and more out of the talent?
Sounds like Matt's looking for something that ain't there. You know, it's the insatiable appetite for dirt is incredible, quite frankly. I misspoke. Simple as that. I wish there was a better story there. You know, this will get clickbait anyway. But I just made a mistake. I don't like using pronouns in my commentary. We have too many announcers in our game and in other forms of broadcasting that use pronouns because they're fucking lazy. And I don't like being perceived as being lazy. So I in the heat of battle, look where we are. Look what's going on around us. Are you shitting me, Matt? How would you handle it? Would you call Dave first? Or would you start counting your stars? Well, I'm going to take a half a star off because Foley could have sold that for another 3 seconds. So no, there's nothing afloat. It's just simply a matter of JR making a mistake, getting caught up in the moment, and that they came. I blurted it out, and in hindsight, it was not good broadcasting.
Well, I hope you feel better about yourself, top guy Matt M, for calling out JR live right here on his own podcast about they. I mean, you son of a bitch, are you kidding me? You just called out the voice of wrestling, you asshole, right here on his own show.
Yeah.
All right, I tried to do a little red. He goes, love you, JR. Please don't go red ass on me. It's too late for that, pal. Adfreeshows.com Slapnut Mike Hoagland. We're going to have fun with him later. When they moved your announce table to buy the stage in 2002, did you have any issues with how hot the pyro would get? I can imagine when Kane came out, it was like being at the gates of hell.
Well, my biggest complaint was leaving the ringside area for the vantage point, the sounds, the sights, the smells, the perspiration, all those things that take you closer to the action. I thought that was a loss. I wasn't overly concerned with the pyro, either it's hot, but I knew they weren't going to put Lawler and I in a position where we're in danger. But also to factor into that equation is the noise, because a lot of those canisters with those the noise explosion things were up there too. So you got a double whammy on it. But my biggest complaint in the beginning was I lost my vantage point. And you know, there's nothing like hearing a Ric Flair chop and hearing it really right there. It's a cool thing. That's just one example. There are many of them. So that was my biggest complaint. But you know, you adapt and you get over it. And I had to start practicing what I preach, and that would be working off the monitor. If it's not on the monitor, I don't know anything about it.
And that's what you guys do nowadays, right? For AEWs, just stare down at those monitors. They have nice big monitors for you.
Yeah, whatever the monitors is your lifeline. So the monitor indicates what the fans at home are seeing. So you really have no reason to look away, at least for any length of time. So yeah, the monitors are the way to go on that deal, or anything like that. I watched, like I said, I sat right behind the announcers at the UFC on Saturday night, and they're good. And they would look up some simply because they're right there at the cage. So they're looking right up, and there's the guys or the gals fighting. And so the good ones use the monitor.
That's right, JR. So we peeked behind the curtain. We were having a little technical difficulty. You mentioned this is our second or third try at this, but you had mentioned previously, maybe tell them again, you were at UFC the other night and got to see that fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
You and Tony.
Dana White invited Tony Khan and I to attend. So I left my house at 10 o'clock here on the beach to go to the event because it didn't start on pay-per-view until 10 o'clock Eastern. I don't think the main events went in the ring until about midnight, close to it. It was a long night in that respect, but Dana's always an amazing host. He had his front row seats, put us right behind him. I didn't watch the show back, but according to my timelines, we were on TV a lot, and that was nice. To put the AEW over to some degree. He and Tony are buddies, and I've known Dana a long time myself. Probably not as well as Tony does, but he remembers my name. He was glad I came. He's just a great host, good dude. And when we're in Vegas coming up in several weeks, he's going to come to one of our events. So Dana's a good dude, and we all have a lot in common. We're trying to sell tickets to a live event, and then televise it. So there's a lot of common ground there.
Understood. We were just talking about Cain and the gates of hell and all that good stuff. But JR, I got to talk a little bit about being hot as hell. And that's when BlueChew can get you hot whenever you need to. It's time to dig yourself out of hibernation, everybody, because spring is here and it's time to get sprung with BlueChew. That's right. This episode sponsored by BlueChew. And guys, confidence can take you far in life. It can also help in the bedroom, especially when it comes to step up to the plate. That's where BlueChew comes in, right, JR?
Yeah, BlueChew's been loyal to our show since day one, and we definitely appreciate their business. But I would not be as enthusiastic about talking about BlueChew if I wasn't a client, and if I had not used it successfully. It's never let me down, shall we say. It works. And when you're 70 and you're wanting to keep everything working correctly, sometimes that BlueChew's a nice tag team partner. And like you said, it gives a man confidence that you're not going off to war unarmed.
Buddy, when you're 44, it's nice to go in with BlueChew and their BlueChew's product, because my goodness, it will take you from okay to okay, just like that. Trust me, it's a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but it's chewable and it's a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night. You can plan ahead so that you're ready whenever the opportunity arises. I feel like Val Venus reading this. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll get that prescription within days. And the best part is, it's all done online. It's discreet. You don't have to go to a doctor's office. No awkward conversations. No waiting in line at the pharmacy. And it's all made here in the good old US of A. It's shipped right to your door in a discreet package. The mailman's not going to look at you weird either. So listen, if you could benefit from that extra confidence when it's time to perform, BlueChew can help. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. If you try BlueChew free, when you use our promo code JR, you're going to get it for free. You just pay $5 shipping for that first month. That's
great deal.
Yeah, BlueChew.com, promo code JR, and you receive that first month free. So go to BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank BlueChew for sponsoring the podcast.
Yeah, we love BlueChew. The thing about it, folks, for $5, you kidding me? You want to know how it works? You've heard everybody's talked about it, made jokes about it. It was the internet darling as one-liners for a good while until people saw it was a very serious product that worked. And so if you've always been curious how it can improve my game, well, $5 you can find out. $5. And that's only and you're getting the product for free. You're paying for the shipping and handling. And I'd say $5 is a nice, tidy little investment if you're curious. And your curiosity will be cured because it does work, and it works the first time, works every time.
It's no gimmick, but by God, it improves your gimmick. I'll tell you that right there.
You said that, not me.
Adfreeshows.com/slapnut Tony Flowers asks, the negative aspects of Vince McMahon are seemingly what people tend to focus on, JR. Is there a story about the kind side of Vince we haven't heard that may surprise his detractors or go against the narrative? Thanks, Jim.
Well, there's tons of them, but people, it's like somebody, who are they? They're looking for shit because they think it's cute or it strokes their little, ego. Those are the kind of guys that's nuts would fit into a thimble. Thimble nuts. That's what I call that. Vince has done so many things for Jan and I. I remember one time he says, he really wanted me to us work on another contract. I said, well, I'm trying to save some money and get some money ahead to buy a house and real estate there in Connecticut. It's expensive, especially there in Fairfield County. He said, well, I'll buy it for you. And then you can just pay me back somehow. We'll figure it out. Well, I didn't want to be that obligated. I didn't think that was right. I appreciated his hospitality, but he offered to buy us a home. I can tell you something more close to my heart than real estate was that the day that I took Jan into the hospital, the ambulance did, and I met them there. She was already brain dead, unfortunately, God bless her. But about midnight or 1 o'clock, because I'd only been in the hospital maybe an hour or two, my phone started lighting up, and one of the very, very first people that called me was Vince. It had to be like midnight or 1 a.m. on the East Coast. He didn't have to do that. And some people may think, well, that's not such a big deal. Where's the dirt? How many stars did he give her? Come on. He's just a good dude and has been a real good dude to me on many occasions. I know in my cancer scare, he kept in touch with me during this cancer issue. So, we had a very unique relationship, but he did so many more good things for me than bad things. It's not even comparable.
Thank you for sharing that, JR. And Tony Flowers, great question. Appreciate you, man. Good stuff. Adfreeshows.com top guy, Michael McClanahan. We call him Money Mike. He's an accountant. Some people call him DiBiase Jr. He says, how different would the invasion have looked if Tony Schiavone had been the one to replace Jerry the King Lawler during the King's hiatus in 2001?
I don't know how it been any different. I mean, Tony had been like some say that he, Excalibur, and I are now. We're three play-by-play guys doing an announce table. I mean, Tony can hold his end up on any area. So I don't know what this guy's looking for, but I don't know anything would have changed drastically. The thing about it is that people are gonna compare this automatically to Paul Heyman. Tony Schiavone is a hell of a broadcaster. He's a Hall of Fame level broadcaster, but as a heel antagonist in the color commentator's chair, he's not Paul Heyman. But that's not knocking Tony. Ain't nobody Paul Heyman.
Yeah,
Paul Heyman.
I think too, and Michael, he's a good guy, and I think here Tony was kind of the face of announcing for WCW, so it would have brought more of that WCW impact having him also show up on the broadcast team as
if we had wanted more WCW, we had plenty of WCW.
Yeah,
you don't tie your rope to a sinking brand that went belly up. So I don't know how much identification that WCW do we want other than the talents that we're bringing in. That's enough identification. But if Tony had been offered a job and he happened to be sitting beside me, I'd have been fine with it. Why not? He's an experienced broadcaster, and he's one of my oldest friends. 30 plus years we've been working together.
And now it's full circle, and you're back at it together again.
There you go.
Life is something, I tell you what.
Never know, man.
Just watching Clash 1 big anniversary for it and listening to you two do that event together. And it's just crazy. All these years later, still getting it done for AEW. Adfreeshows.com top guy Lauren Eason asks, with Cody at WWE now, do you feel anyone else on the AEW roster might follow?
You never know, Paul. I mean, I'm not going to name any names because how would I know? And if I did know names, why would I tell this slapdick? Or tell you for that matter? I just wouldn't do it. It's breaching trust. I have heard no conversations, but look, let's be honest about it. If cash and creative are in place better in one company than it is in another, then you got people traveling. So I can't imagine that somewhere down the road, others will follow the same trail, because most of them, the younger guys especially, grew up with WWE product on their televisions. So, that's just the nature of the business. That's like the old territory days. Now we make a huge deal out of talents moving from brand to brand. Back in the territory days, people change territories every 6 months, every year, or whatever it may be, but it's a different ballgame now than it was then. So I don't know if about leaving. I know the guys that we have are making a good living, or they wouldn't still be doing it. They got a amenable schedule, i.e. they work 1 day a week, and the travel is monitored and it is managed very well. Again, 1 day a week. I leave my house on Tuesdays and I'm back at my house on Thursday. I suggest most of the guys on our roster have the same gig. And the ones that want to make extra money can work indies, which I encourage them to do. No, I don't know who's next, and I don't give a shit who's next. What difference does it make? Your show will go on. The games will still be played. You'll just have people playing with a different jersey. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe but I don't have any idea. But I'm sure that at some point in time there'll be others that look. Let's face it. At some point in time, you kind of run your course. You're kind of done your duty. So,
JR, you mean to tell me after all these shows that we've recorded together that if I hit the stop record button, you won't give me the dirt on who's leaving next, on who's going to WWE?
I don't know. That's the beautiful part about it. I don't know who's leaving next. And I call matches better when I don't know. I don't need all this information. If I was going to call an OU football game, which I'd love to do someday, I'm sure as hell I'm not going to know the outcome. And I look at my work the same way. Wrestling and football, same deal. Prepare the same. Motivate yourself. But I sure as fuck don't need to know who wins. That's for a real big time mark. It's got a big M on their forehead, tattooed on. That's what that is. I need to know. You don't know. You don't.
And I'm just giving you shit. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
You don't need to know. Why would you want to know?
I don't want to know. I don't. I want to be surprised. Nothing's a surprise anymore.
There you go.
I just love to have a little fun with you, JR. Get you going a little bit. Adfreeshows.com /slapnut 2-count Kyle asks, who do you want to see as the next AEW champ after Hangman's run comes to an end? Personally, I'd like to see MJF on top.
He'll be there someday. MJF will definitely be the AEW World Champion at some point in time. I'd suggest sooner than later, this year as in sooner. But I don't have that written down. I haven't been. Tony Khan didn't whisper that in my ear at the USC fights on Saturday. But there's a lot of guys that qualify. Adam Cole's a guy that's got to be right there at the top of that list. He hasn't had a bad match yet, and he's very reliable, and he's got a beautiful girlfriend that's a big part of our team. So I think Adam Cole probably is in line for an opportunity for that role. But I got to tell you, I'm not in any big hurry to take it off Hangman Page. He's getting better and better every time. And the things he did on TV in the last couple of weeks, little run-ins, talking, interacting, he showed a huge improvement in his game. He's in great shape. He looks good. He's healthy. So I'm not in any hurry for Hangman Page to lose. But if it does come his turn, we have plenty of guys that I think, we have got Kenny Omega back. Kenny Omega will be back soon at some point in time when he gets healthy. And so guys we haven't even talked about lately, Rusev, Samoa Joe. There's a lot of guys who would be good champions. But I think right now on the course I see it on is that if there has to be a change, Adam Cole would be probably my most viable suggestion.
And there's another guy that he's not shy about telling about his need or want for the title right now, and that's the man, CM Punk.
Right, exactly.
So it's going to be
our cupboards are not bare.
Yeah.
Tony Khan has done a hell of a job in amassing this roster, and a lot of guys could fill that title role, I suggest, without missing a beat. We got a lot of talented guys here, and all of them are still of the mindset that being a champion in your company and being anointed the number one guy is still a very big deal.
All right, moving on. Adfreeshows.com. Slapnut Adam Arpin. He asks, it's often said in WWE, the year is written from WrestleMania backwards.
It used to be.
Okay. If this is the case coming out of WrestleMania 15, what were Austin's plans for WrestleMania 2000 prior to having him written off due to the neck injury? Would he have gotten the rematch with The Rock a year sooner, match with Triple H, or something completely different?
I'm leaning because of Rock's schedule, probably Triple H. That'd be my guess. Triple H and Steve had great chemistry. I thought there's some really good matches. I enjoyed calling all of them. There's some really good stuff. Can't go wrong going back and looking at some of those matches. But I'm just a pure guess, Triple H, and that's only because The Rock was getting so busy, and he had the time to build a story. You know, Rock and Austin headlined WrestleMania, 15, 17, and 19. And it seemed like that worked out pretty good. Every other year, you know, you got something fresh. Rock could continue doing his movie thing, and Austin could continue to build his legacy. So it seemed like it worked out pretty well what we did. But if I had to just make a guess, I'd probably say that Triple H would be in line for a good run with Austin at that point.
JR, talking about when plans change, pal, you can manage your anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness with Feels. CBD isn't about what you feel. It's about what you don't feel. The stress, the anxiety, the pain. You know some of this, right, JR?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of anxiety this year, this cancer thing, then the depression of Jan's death. You know, you got to, folks, the deal is that, and a lot of you are already trying it, which is smart, but the CBD will help you. And it's not like you're smoking a joint and eating donuts and drinking cold milk. It's just not. It's very medicinal. I'm working on a plan for a cannabis farm in Oklahoma, and there's so many medical uses that are being discovered almost daily for CBD. So I'm a big proponent of it. I know we kid about the chocolate cake and all that stuff. Different ball game, folks. Different dessert. But the CBD oil, it works, and it helps, like Paul said, in so many areas that, you know, I would suggest that it helps you sleep better because you're not stressed out and you go to bed and all that stuff, and you can relax a little bit. You get a good REM sleep, which is imperative for a guy that's got sleep apnea. And I wear the mask at night, all that crazy shit. Look like a little pilot, a little NASA pilot with my little mask on. But it helps me live and helps me breathe consistently every night. But the CBD products get you in that position where you can attain REM sleep, for example, among other things. So I'm a big believer of the CBD, and what we're offering here is amazing. This is because this is a big time product.
It is a big time product. And you said it right, JR. It's a premium CBD that'll help keep your head clear. It'll help you feel your best. It's hassle-free, delivered directly again to your door. And it helps reduce that stress, that anxiety, the pain and sleeplessness. JR, I used to put my head down at night and everything I did that day or what I had to do the next day would come flooding in. I'd be 2 hours just staring at the alarm clock. No more. I place a few drops of Feels under my tongue and feel the difference within minutes.
Yeah.
And the thing to remember about CBD is finding your right dose, and it's important. Everyone's dose is different. So if you need a dose of chill on the go, pop one of the Feels. It's new CBD infused mints for a clear-headed feeling. You can't get much better than that. And by the way, JR, it gives you fresh breath too. In fact, Feels offers a free CBD hotline to help guide you through your personal experience so that you find your perfect dose. The customer service team is dedicated to making sure you get the best use of your CBD. So join the Feels monthly membership. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. You'll save money every order. You can pause or cancel anytime. Start feeling better with Feels. Become a member today or by going to feels.com/JR. That's the key. And you're going to get 50% off your first order with free shipping. That's FEALS.com/JR to become a member and get 50% off automatically taken off your first order and free shipping. Feels.com/JR. Adfreeshows.com enhancement talent Richard Smith asks, I have a couple questions on the Brawl for It All, JR. Number one, how do you feel about the Dark Side of the Ring's coverage? We'll go one by one here. So how did you feel about the Dark Side of the Ring's coverage?
Mixed. I have some problems with some Dark Side editing. I thought I can't even remember the show, so I guess it's not that big a deal. I thought I was misrepresented a time or two on the edit, how they edited pieces together to make,
maybe the plane ride from hell, maybe.
Might have been. Yeah, might have been. But I mean, I admire those guys' entrepreneurial spirit, and I think it's a good purpose. But I think sometimes they bite into the apple of the dirt, and they narrowcast a little bit too much for me. But I'm still going to watch their shows, and I'm not sure I'll be on any more of them simply because I had such a unfortunate negative afterthoughts of it. But you never know. But I those guys are good guys. They mean well, but I think the edit was a little bit callous and not well thought out, quite frankly. So I hope they continue to do those shows, and if they do, I'll continue to watch, and then we'll see. They should get better at what they do. They're getting better. We all got to get better. So I think that's where they are. So
entertaining for sure. Number two, His question is, if Dr. Death won as it seems to be intended, would you still go with Butterbean murdering him?
Well, it's booked. I don't know how you get around it. All I would have told Doc was, you got to go for takedowns. Don't stand with him. He'll kill you. You got to find his legs and single leg him, double leg him, then use your strength and your bulk to ride his ass, blow him up, and then beat him. But we never got to have the chance to have that conversation. But Doc beating Butterbean in Butterbean's world was going to be daunting, to say the least. So it was just a tough scenario. Probably wasn't the best booking idea, and the medical bills that we ensued because of it were unnecessary, and it just caused a lot of bad ill will, a lot of ill will. I guess all ill will is bad, but it caused a lot of ill will, I thought, and I didn't think that was necessary.
Next question he asks, any heat on Russo for coming up with this crap for petty reasons?
I'm not one to sit here in 2022 to keep piling on Vince Russo. I mean, my God, let's figure out something else or a new topic. Not just you, but just, he came up with an idea and Vince bought it. So if guys are going to be pissed off, you should be pissed off with the old man. But nobody's got the balls to be pissed off with the old man. They pick a surrogate. And Russo was a surrogate, so to speak, on that creation. And I'd say, there was heat on him. But there's always going to be heat on the guy writing the storylines.
Yeah, absolutely. His fourth question, what do you think would have been a better use for Bart than what seems like it is just a punishment covered by spectacle?
That punishment deal's a bunch of bullshit, too. Anybody that's buying that line after all these years is very naive and haven't really done their homework. Why would we want him to fail? We wish he had more charisma, but he looked good. He was reliable, dependable, and all those things. A nice man, no doubt about that. I don't know how far we could have gone with it, to be honest with you. But punishment, no. Why would we take all those steps forward at the price that we paid to get the winner, and then purposely punish the winner by not promoting him correctly? So I just think we got to a point where we tried to make that work for Bart's sake. Everybody liked him. Everybody respected him. I still like him. I still respect him. I'm not so sure he feels the same about me, but that's fine too. It's his prerogative. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But I just think that we probably could have done better with him, no doubt. But I don't know how much better we could have done, or he would have moved up the card and stayed there very long. Just don't know that he didn't have Billy Gunn's charisma, let's say, of the two guys. Just compared them because they were tag team partners for so long. So I don't know what the answer to that whole thing is, but we could have done a little bit more, no doubt. But I just don't know how much more it could have gone.
All right. Now you did a fine job answering all those. Adfreeshows.com enhancement talent, low quality music productions asks, what's JR's favorite memory of Bruiser Brody?
Probably having in 1976, I was in Major League Umpire School in St. Pete, and Frank was wrestling for Eddie Graham in Florida Championship Wrestling. So after some of those shows in that area, the Armory or wherever, Frank and I'd take my umpire buddies who a lot of them are fans, and we'd go to dinner, late dinner with Frank, and we'd sit in the booth and talk everything but wrestling. He was a sports guy. He's a former sports writer, college football player. So he had a definitive interest in what we were doing. And so those are some great times. We did that on 2 or 3 different occasions. But he was very well read, was Frank. And I enjoyed being around him. And he was always very respectful and a good friend of mine. And it was just a damn shame how his life ended. And that's still not been accounted for, in my view. It's just amazing. You go back and you can talk about the dark side. The thing they did on Brody's death, it breaks your heart to watch it and makes you mad to watch it because nothing was really done. The guy got away with murder.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
It's so cool too. Like when you talk about Brody and you say he was an avid reader, he also a sports writer, and it was completely opposite of the character that he did in wrestling. And he pulled that off so well, but as a kid, it was so believable. Like he was a monster, but then it's just cool to hear you talk about him in that way. All right. Adfreeshows.com. Slapnut Justin Bracken asks, everyone keeps saying it's a different time. And while there may be some truth to that, some things in wrestling should not change. As an expert in this business, what do you think these things are?
Selling is imperative, and smart selling, understanding how to sell, when to register, when to go on the big sell. It's different levels of that. It's like making a comeback. Heels that can feed a comeback with multiple bumps after getting the heat on the baby face, and the heels are then able to feed that comeback in an exciting, timely way. So I think selling and is the main thing for me, and being logical. These kids are doing so many amazing things that they almost, seemingly anyway, they almost forget what they just did last, and they stop selling it. And I think that they're doing, if they did fewer moves, but sold them better, the match quality and their quality of life as a wrestler would improve. But you're not killing yourself when every single match trying to get all the things that you do in. I think that's a mistake.
Very good. Well said. Adfreeshows.com, my push member. Love this one. Yambag Jones. Yes. Are there any new products coming to JR's BBQ we can look forward to? I've used the all-purpose seasoning on pretty much every damn thing I think I make, and I love the Chipotle ketchup and honey mustard. Is there anything coming down the way that we can get our hands on?
Well, the hot sauce is still in development, but it's getting closer. It's just we find out, and especially the COVID era, designing, developing, and marketing new food products, things you ingest. There's a slowdown on it because of, workload. I'd say the biggest thing, workload. So I think red ass. So your shirt indicates the red ass JR hot sauce is coming, and I know we've been saying that for a long time, but I didn't also realize
supply chain issues. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once you get into it's just a matter of going through all the processes of checking out the formula and the ingredients and shelf life and all those things. So I'd say that's the biggest thing on the horizon, because I think it's going to be a big hit, and I think folks are going to like it, have fun with it, something new.
Hot sauce is always a good one. Anything else, JR, down the road in your mind's eye that you think, hey, this would be cool, a product for us?
I don't know. We're growing, but that's one thing I've learned is that as you try to grow too rapidly and your infrastructure is not caught up and ready for your new product rollout, it's almost bound to fail. So nothing I want to talk about right now, but the hot sauce is something that's been on the radar for quite some time, and it's closer today than it ever has been.
There you go. Adfreeshows.com enhancement talent Chris Gordon asks, when you have talent that are asked to compete in matches that are more dangerous, like a ladder match, did the talent get paid any extra, or is it still the basic formula off the house?
I can't speak for AEW because I'm not involved in that whatsoever. I can speak only from my experience of making payoffs in WWE for all those years, that when talents went above and beyond the call of duty, they got some extra cheese on their Whopper, and as an incentive. But speaking of AEW here, I don't know. It could be. I don't hear. That's the thing about here is that guys are making pretty good money because they're not complaining. At least to me, they're not complaining. I don't hear it. And so knowing Tony Khan, how fair he's been to all of us, I'd suggest he probably takes care of them. Kind of got to, I think.
You always had a reputation. I know that because, you and I, we both talked to Mike Chioda recently, but he always brings up how you always took care of not only the boys, but the referees too. If they took a stiff chair bump or something like that, you would put some extra cheese on their Whopper, as you said.
Absolutely. Yeah. They earned it.
Ad-free shows enhancement talent Pablo M. asks, after seeing Wheeler Yuta live, I can't wait for this one because I think we're going to talk about him and Mox a little bit. He seemed to have it. I wanted to get your take on Wheeler Yuta.
Well, he had it when he was working with Moxley, and he was bleeding like a pig. Loved his body English. He became a made man that night on Rampage.
Incredible match.
Yeah, it was really good. Really, really good. Kid's got a bright future ahead of him. He's like a lot of those younger guys that are smaller. He's got to continue to hit the gym hard and work on his development of his physique. Not that he's got a bad physique. He just needs to bulk up a little bit, and that's easily done with nutrition and the workout regimen that's prepared for that. But he made a name for himself that night, and he impressed the hell out of me. I can tell you that right now. And by the way, just for the fans who don't know him or whatever, he's really a nice young man, very polite. He's got, he's well raised, good parents. He's not an idiot backstage. He's a businessman, and for a young kid to have those traits, it's pretty damn impressive because you know how much he's going to get better at that. So it was a big week last week for Wheeler Yuta, and hopefully he's got to continue to build on it, and I'm sure that he will. He's a bright kid. He knows what's there. He saw what's a possibility. Everybody around our company saw what the possibility was, and the fans saw it. So now it's up to Wheeler to continue to carry that ball.
He is the Ring of Honor Pure Champion, by the way. If you don't want to know what that is, Google it. But he has got a bright future ahead of him, that's for sure. JR, adfreeshows.com enhancement talent Ed P. asks, if you could have picked one former or current NFL athlete to become a full-time pro wrestler, who would it be?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. There's so many charismatic and big, fast, strong football players. You have to find one that was a fan first. They're not getting into the wrestling business because they washed out as a terrible failure in the NFL. You don't want that. And you don't want somebody that's just getting into wrestling because they perceive that's where they can go and get rich without the work. And that just doesn't work for any field. You got to work your ass off to get great. And so you have to find out a little about that. But, you'd pick out guys, I'm not so sure how LT would have done as a pro wrestler. Attitudinally, his defiance, his body English, his controversy that followed him around, LT would have been, and plus, let's not forget, we take for granted how good an athlete he was. LT. So there's a lot of guys. Gosh,
I think a big personalities like the Boz.
Yeah, Boz is a good friend of mine. We've talked about this.
Yeah,
a Cowboy and I tried to make inroads to Boz after he left OU, where he was a 3-time All-American linebacker, won 2 Butkus Awards. When I go to OU games in Norman, my friend Wallace Marsh has a suite there, and he's kind enough to let some of us freeloaders hang around and enjoy the 18-seat suite there at the stadium. And Brian's usually one of the guys there with us. So Bob's a good friend of mine, but he would have been great. It is at that time he was making great money as a number 1 draft pick of the Seattle Seahawks, and he thought that was going to be his next run. And it ended at shorter shoulder surgeries, things of that nature, getting run over by Bo Jackson. Everybody doesn't talk about that than how great a player he was. He graduated from college in 3 years. He's a smart guy. And he's doing those Dr. Pepper commercials as the chief of police, and that's a nice little gig. And so he's a good friend. But Boss has been great, no doubt about it. Staying healthy is key. He had the personality, he had the look, he had the body,
the charisma. Yeah,
he had all that stuff naturally. He grew up being a football player, and he grew up always wanting to be a football player, and so that was his focus. And then after football, it became the movies, and so all of a sudden, wrestling is far down the list. And wrestling at that time was not as sophisticated. He probably would have been a better fit in WWF than in Mid-South. Financially, but coming to Mid-South first and learning his craft would have been the way to go, because then he'd been fundamentally solid, fundamentally prepared to protect himself, protect his opponents, et cetera. So, the Boz is a good one. I wish we could have got that deal done, but this wasn't meant to be.
And if you want a good night's sleep like all the other wrestlers and football players, and you're having a hard time sleeping, science tells us you need Chili Sleep. The best way to achieve and maintain consistent deep sleep is by lowering your core body temperature. Temperature-controlled sleep repairs muscles after a hard day's work. If you're that football player, that wrestler, and you want to improve your cognitive function so you always start your day feeling sharp and alert, sleep's important, isn't it, JR?
Damn right it is. It's oftentimes underrated. Good night's sleep is imperative. I used to say I get by on 2 or 3 hours sleep, whatever. That's not a badge of courage. That's a badge of ignorance. Your body needs time to regenerate energy and all those things. And to do that, you got to find that place where you can get REM sleep. I must have went, I don't know how many years and years without getting REM sleep until I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. And then you got to continue to refine your game. And nobody likes to wake up sweaty. I don't. I sleep in my room dark, quiet, and cold. And this right here will help you, because it just lets you sleep cool. And I think it's a hell of an innovation. It's one of those ideas, Paul, where you say, damn, why didn't I think of that?
That's right. Chili Sleep makes customizable, climate-controlled sleep solutions that help you improve your entire well-being. They make Uller and Cube Sleep systems hydro-powered, temperature-controlled mattress toppers that will fit your existing mattress to provide your ideal sleep temperature. These luxury mattress pads keep your bed at the perfect temperature for deep sleep. Whether you sleep hot or cold, these sleep systems are designed to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and give you the confidence and energy to power through your day. Man, that's absolutely critical. Imagine waking up and not feeling tired at all. Chili Sleep can help make that happen. And if you want that extra layer of comfort, because I know we all do, they also make the Chili Blanket, the only weighted blanket that can also be paired with a control unit for the ultimate sweat-free sleep. Buddy, I got to tell you something, JR. I'm a hot sleeper, and what I mean by that is I can't handle a ton of blankets. My wife calls me a toaster oven, but not anymore. No, sir, not with chili. I'm like Goldilocks, and I found the solution that's just right. Head on over to chilisleep.com/JR to learn more and save 30% off the purchase of any new Cube or Oler sleep system. This offer is available exclusively for Grilling JR listeners and only for a limited time. That's chill, CHILI, sleep.com/JR to take advantage of our exclusive discount and wake up refreshed every day.
Just makes too much sense not to try it. 30% off. Can't go wrong. Hey, folks, it's time to take your podcast game to the next level. And you certainly want to get your almighty push. My God, we have to have a push, right? We'll get that over to adfreeshows.com. Now, I'm telling you, if you're a fan of Grilling JR, adfreeshows.com has the entire episode library, and it's got no ads. 0 ads, zilch, none. Ad-free and on video starting at just $9. Did you hear what I said? $9. You spend more than that at Starbucks, for God's sakes. 2 mornings. If that's not all, folks, we got tons of bonus content, including my after-hours roundtable, where drinking was involved with Eric and Tony. You simply will not find a better value in all of wrestling. Hey, look, don't make me go red ass, because by God, you know I will. Hurry over to adfreeshows.com right now and sign up. And I thank you.
JR, adfreeshows.com, my push member Gavin asks, we've heard the stories of how challenging it can be to have Vince in your ear during commentary, but did he present any unique challenges when he was at the desk?
Not really. Very easy to work with. It's a different dynamic. Him being backstage, surrounded by people wanted his ear or wanted to ask him a question or just be seen, maybe more importantly. At the desk, he was a piece of cake. You know, we had eye contact, and you're out there doing live television, or live to tape at least. You know, he didn't have the chance to have those intimate conversations with him on one end and you on the other. So no problem at all. He was a real pro at the desk and did a lot better job than people give him credit for.
Adfreeshows.com slapnut Jeff Ronquillo asks, were there ever any instances where fans got to be a bit rowdy or annoying behind you and the king as y'all did commentary? If so, did you ever do your best to ignore them, or did you ever get security to give them the boot?
I don't think we ever had anybody thrown out. We did gain eye contact. We had security near us on both sides. The biggest culprit was alcohol. The deeper in the show, the more of these guys would drink, and then they felt compelled to be on television or make a scene. Notice me, hey, notice me. Look, here I am. But we never had anybody thrown out, but we did have to calm some down. Where if you continue to, I don't mind them yelling, just don't touch us. Shove and touch, screw with my hat, shit like that.
Does the story stand out where somebody did mess with you like that, JR? There's
a lot of them.
Wow. They would just touch your hat and touch you.
They touch everything. They touch everything that you let them touch, I guess. It's just silly.
Wow.
They had to have attention. They're starving for attention. And that was one way, because they got these great seats.
Yeah.
And there's great seats and right behind the announcers. And we did it on camera. They were right there, man. So they were filming at the screen. The
just tugging out your cowboy hat.
Well, you're touching it or whatever.
Yeah. I can't believe it, man. That's crazy. These people are out of control. Guess I shouldn't be surprised.
Leave my shit alone. and don't embarrass yourself on television.
There you go, Jeff. Craziness. And I guess you just can't imagine. Everything's going to happen, unfortunately, in this life, in this world. Adfreeshows.com enhancement talent Thomas Falbo asks, does JR believe WWE will eventually build a brick and mortar Hall of Fame museum?
It wouldn't surprise me. I think that was a goal when I was there. We looked at a lot of real estate in the Orlando area. I haven't heard anything lately on it, but I would be surprised if WWE didn't have a brick and mortar Hall of Fame at some point in time as a tourist attraction, and having it built in an area where tourism was a big deal. So Orlando does seem to be a little bit logical, but I hadn't heard anything on that in a long time. But again, if they said tomorrow that they're going to build a new Hall of Fame or build a Hall of Fame, I would not be surprised. And as a matter of fact, I'd be happy.
Speaking of a brick and mortar location, I'm sure most of us listening to the show today have a home. And don't forget about caring for that beautiful lawn with Sunday. Most of us might not think about our lawns in the winter, but this is the time to prep for it right now. You're probably thinking you have so much work to do to get it green and healthy again, but Sunday takes all the work out for you. JR, I know you care about your lawns and your homes. You have multiple homes, right?
Well, I got two. That's multiple. I have two homes. I have one in Florida, which is the lawn is taken care of by my
there you go.
building, and I have my big lawn, and most of my landscaping is in Oklahoma. And it's not, if you don't pay attention to it, and you can spend an awful lot of money on your lawn and never really know what you're getting for it. So I'm a big believer that you're going to have a lawn, make it a healthy lawn, make it somewhere you're proud to pull into your driveway. Make it some lawn that you're happy to have your neighbors see it, like it, and appreciate your being orderly. So I'm a lawn guy. I like lawns.
Yeah, take some pride in what you do. Sunday can help you grow a beautiful lawn without the guesswork or the nasty chemicals. That's very important. Their custom plans include fertilizer and everything you need to easily care for your lawn, and with ingredients like seaweed, iron, and molasses. Yes. You can feel good with kids and pets being around it. All you have to do is visit Sunday.com, put in your address, and their lawn analysis tool will do the rest. They then use the soil and climate data to create a personal nutrient plan delivered to your door when you need it. That's incredible, first of all. The fact that they do all that research to make sure they get it just right for you. Just attach the ready-to-use pouch to a garden hose and spray. It takes less than 15 minutes. You can't beat it. Best of all, it really works. And Sunday is offering our listeners 20% off. Full season plans start at just $129, and you can get 20% off at checkout when you visit getsunday.com/JR. That's 20% off your custom plan at getsunday.com/JR. JR, Charlie Thrower is up next, and he says, Mr. Ross, what was your personal plane ride from hell? As in weather conditions, travel partner, layovers, not the Dark Side of the Ring episode. Do you remember a plane ride for you where it was just awful?
I've been on a lot of them. I've been traveling since 1974, so there's been a lot of turbulence. But here lately, it's not been horrible. Few rough ones, but I've been real lucky there. A lot of my peers have horror stories about that. I'm luckier than some in that regard. I mean, we've gone down where we've almost touched down at the runway that had to pull back up and take off again because of something. There's a lot of scary things that happen. The more you fly, the more opportunities you have in getting in or near a disastrous situation. But nothing else. And nothing was. I was never involved in an emergency landing, or where they had to put the foam on to get the landing gear down. I have never been there. Knock on wood. I don't want to be there.
No way.
But the more you fly, you just have to. It's like delays. It's like crying babies. It's like old people that never fly, and they don't know how to put their seatbelt on, or they don't know how they can't find the lavatory. You just went there. You forgot where it was. God bless them. So, but I've been lucky in that regard, quite frankly.
I want to ask you, because my a person that I work with just ran into this on their flight to Vegas. They had someone where they were on the tarmac. They had to turn the plane around and put a guy in handcuffs because they refused to wear a mask. Have you run into any of that so far in your trip?
Not yet. I haven't, but I'm sure it's coming.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I'm sure it's coming. And that's how stupid is that? You know, when you get when you get in the airport, you got to wear a mask. You know, when you get on the plane, you got to wear a mask. So why screw it up for everybody else on the flight? Because your ego and your stupidity prevents you from putting a mask on. How big a deal is it? I don't like wearing them either, but that's the rules. And I rather play by the rules than piss off the feds.
They took him off in handcuffs. He's yelling, "I hope this plane goes down in flames." All this stuff, and this guy's on the plane with his kids. All right, what is wrong with our society? Are you fucking kidding me? Unbelievable.
I tell you, man, things need to change to some degree, in so many ways. Well,
Dave McClay is up next, and he says, "What are JR's thoughts on the Sopranos finale?"
Well, like everybody else, you know, number one, I hated to see the Sopranos go off the air. So I don't know if I was going to be happy with any finale, because my favorite show on television was leaving me. I felt deserted in that respect. But I'm still trying to figure that ending out all these years later. I just figured there'd be a mass murders and mass people. You know, I thought Tony Soprano and his family would not leave that little booth after ordering those onion rings, that the bullets would start flying. And everybody that walked in the door, you got that little camera shot of, oh, okay, here he comes. This is the assassin. This is the killer, whatever. But it never happened. So I'm still trying to figure out that as best I can. But I guess if I had to give you an answer, I was expecting a little bit more. But we didn't get that. But what we got, we still talk about as in today.
Wow. So true. Adam Leeson is up next. He said, if there's a surprise debut or comeback at an event, are the other participants of the match made aware so they can plan the match, or is it done on the fly?
I would say there's a little 50-50 there, but most often when a new wrestler's coming in, his opponent will certainly be aware of it. I like the surprises. You know, I like... You know, I didn't know Samoa Joe was coming out the other night on Rampage. Loved it. It meant more to me at that point, because I have not preconditioned myself. So I think the surprise element is still a real good deal for everybody. So, but you're not going to have a match with two guys that don't have at least some level of communication, and maybe a text, and maybe some guys in a trailer outside the building, hidden, and the other guys are in the building in the locker rooms, and they still got to communicate to some degree. So that just may be text messaging back and forth or a phone call. So, but it's you find a way. You find a way. You don't want to screw the surprise up. Then you don't want to have a great surprise and and then go ahead and have a shitty match. They don't equal out. So So I don't know. I don't have any issues with that, Paul. I just, that's the only way to do it, I think, to get your mileage out of it, get your money's worth.
Yeah. Hey, surprise as many people as possible, but you're right. I think you got to let the guy know who he's getting in the ring with so they can kind of figure out what they're doing.
Right.
All right. Greg's up next. He said, do you like OU Texas at the Cotton Bowl every year, or do you wish it was played on campus?
Every year in the Cotton Bowl. Don't want to change a thing. It's one of the oldest, most famous stadiums in America, maybe the world. It's 100,000, 50,000 OU fans, 50,000 Texas fans. The 50-yard line is the mark of the line of demarcation, so that you start to 50, you go all the way around. That's all crimson. Then it picks up there with the 50, and it goes burnt orange all the way back around. It's colorful. It's on the fairgrounds, the State Fair of Texas, the biggest state fair in the world. It smells, the cotton, the corn dogs, the turkey legs, all those things are kind of unique for a football game. So I like everything about it as it is now. It's in the second Saturday in October, as a rule. And Dusty Rhodes and I had bets every year because I think his birthday was October the 11th. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that's right. And so that was about the same weekend of the OU Texas game. You notice I'd never say Texas OU. It's always OU Texas. He was just the opposite. And so I like the way it is. I like tradition. I like tradition. To change it to go to Jerry's World for why? Better air conditioning. You know, the Cotton Bowl is an outdoor stadium. You get the weather that comes along with it. And, but I love that whole setup. It's just, unless you've been to one of those games, it's harder to understand how much fun it is. It's one of my favorite events to attend every year. And it's harder to attend. You know, my black hat, some people it simply means a meet and greet. Everybody wants a picture. I like that, and I'm happy to do it, but it makes it a little bit more tough to enjoy. You can't walk the grounds of the fair and look at all the stuff without not being rude to somebody that you know, I don't want to be rude to anybody. But at some point in time, that fans believe that because you're there, that you're there, and that the time you're there is their time. And so it can be a little disruptive. But I love the OU Texas game in Dallas. I hope it never changes. I went to my first game there in 1970, before I got in the wrestling business. I think 71 or 2. So I've been going to those games a long time. I love it. And in Oklahoma, when the team has done different things. When Coach Stoops was there, they took a bus down. It's 3 hours, maybe. And Riley started flying guys. The flight was 28 minutes. I never understood that one. But when they drove the buses down, they always had a caravan of Oklahoma State troopers. And the troopers would come by my house. The lieutenant would come by my house in Norman and pick me up. And I would ride with the cops to the game and back. So we'd ride down on Friday and we'd go out. I'd always take them out to dinner that night at various places, and had a little night of fellowship with those dudes. And then they'd take me back, and they're black and white to the hotel where everybody was staying. I'd ride with them the next morning to the game. The game starts at 11 a.m. Central Time out there, so they get their noon Eastern kickoff. So it'd be up early, and I'd go to the stadium with those guys, and it was just and they became my friends, my buddies. I've put pictures up several times of the crew, the Highway Patrol crew, and they like my stories, and I think they like me buying them dinner, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed taking them out. So it's become a tradition for me, the OU Texas scenario, and I love that whole deal. And I've been to games. I've been to big games in the OU games in Jerry's place, where they had WrestleMania, several games there. It's beautiful. It's a great stadium. But for football, old school slobber knocker football, the Cotton Bowl is my spot.
JR can just tell by you talking about how passionate, how much you enjoy it, the tradition. Is that your favorite tradition that you still do every year now at the age of 70 years old? Stuff you look forward to doing every year as you look at the year?
It's always on my radar, Paul. It's always there if I can get there.
Yeah.
Wrestling has changed my schedule up somewhat, but working with Tony Khan and we're working primarily on Wednesdays for me anyway. I don't even hang around for the Rampage tapings. I like to watch it on TV as it airs. But yeah, it's always on that schedule. It's one of the first things I look to see. Can I make this game? It's like this year. I may go to the OU Nebraska game in Lincoln. I'm thinking about that. I want to go to that game. I've only been to a couple of games in Lincoln, both OU games, obviously. But it's a great football mecca, college football mecca, great stadium, great fan support, and they're great fans. They're not defiant and MFing this guy and jumping in your face and shooting you the finger and all that stuff. Like we talked earlier, I hope your plane crashes on the way home type situation. That's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Nebraska will be on my wish list this year. I just want to be able to go to more OU home games and sit in that suite with my friend Wallace Marsh and the Boz. And gosh, we always have all kinds of, we've had so many celebrities come through there, and, you know, they come down to see us. We got booze, and we got food, and we got 18 seats.
That's great.
And we got like 6 televisions.
Sounds like a blast, man.
It's a football fan's dream.
Yeah.
So it's it ain't roughing it.
Hey, that's the way to do it, man. Sounds like a great time, and I'm glad you look forward to that. And sounds like it's just a lot of fun for you. So that's very cool.
It is, yeah.
Kurt Zamora is up next. He said, "There's a lot of debate in sports, and some of these high-priced commentators like Buck and Aikman are worth it. And they just got big deals with ESPN. If fans tune in just for the commentators, he says, if fans tune in just for the commentators, and can they make a bad game worth watching? What are your thoughts, and how do you think that translates to wrestling?"
Absolutely, they can make a bad game worth watching. If they're entertaining and informative and they get in the flow of the game, they tell the story that's being laid out before them, absolutely, they can make it better. They can make a great game unforgettable. I think the same thing about wrestling. You know, if the guys give us what we need to build their story, we can help make their match better. And if they get on that special level, then all of a sudden you make those matches unforgettable. But absolutely, those guys earn every dime they got. That's the constants that you can always know you're going to get. Aikman and Buck are going to be great no matter who they're working for. They're not going to change how they broadcast because they went from Fox over to ESPN. Now it's just a matter of you look at that ESPN roster of broadcasters, and they got a very impressive group. It also brings up the point who's going to replace them on Fox. I haven't heard that yet, but those are prime opportunities for somebody, and Fox is a great company to work for. I got friends there. Jacob Oldman's one of my best buddies, and he's a senior VP of sports there. One of the best guys I've ever met, and so knowing them, they'll come up with the right answers. But they're like wrestling broadcasters. There's not a lot of depth in that world. The depth of where you would feel good about them being on a primary broadcast. Buck and Aikman, there was never a question. They were like Madden and Summerall. And I can promise you,
yep.
I tuned into a lot of football games because I saw where Madden and Summerall were calling the game. So I knew I would be entertained. If the game didn't do it for me, they would. And that's kind of how I look at it now.
Love them or hate them, they got big shoes to fill over at Fox. You're absolutely right. So we'll see how that all breaks down. Matt Guerra has the next question. He said, over the years, how many black cowboy hats has JR owned, and how many does he own today?
I have 3 left. They cost $1,000 a piece, 100% beaver fur. And they're custom made in Oklahoma City, about 3 blocks from that Cattleman Steakhouse I was telling you about in Oklahoma City, Stockyards. I have 3 hats now. I have 2 in Oklahoma and 1 here in Florida. But I had more of them until Jan found out how much they cost. She was giving them away like they're glasses of Snapple. She'd donate them. God bless her. She was such a good-hearted woman. She'd donate them to, Make-A-Wish and all these different charities, which I was all for. But all of a sudden, you get down to where you got 1 hat left, and you got to have a backup just as a fail-safe. So now I got 3. I've had as many as 7 or 8. But I don't have her around anymore to give my hats away. God bless her. So that's the current total.
There you go. Blood on the Canvas says, we know Vince is very active in WWE's creative direction, but how hands-on was the Cowboy? Did he give bookers a lot of leeway, a bullet points guy, or was he micromanaging? Seems like Mid-South UWF was always evolving. How much of that was the booker's influence?
Well, Cowboy had a unique thing there. He was the owner. He was a part-time #1 babyface when business needed a little surge. But he had Cowboy always hired bookers. because he wanted the booker to be at all the events. He wasn't going to do that. He'd only be at the events he was actually wrestling in, or there was a big show. So, but Bill always had a booker, like we had Ken Mantell, we had Ernie Ladd, Bill Dundee, Eddie Gilbert got the job at the end, but it was too late. That wasn't really fair to Eddie, but he kind of went down with the ship on that one, unfortunately. So but Bill was hands-on, my God. He was very hands-on. Bill was a guy that he had a little recorder. He'd lay out the match in the babyface dressing room. That's where he dressed. And then he would send what he wanted the heel to do across the ring with the referee, including myself many times. Would take it. Then that's when it got funny, because then the talents would hear what Cowboy wanted, and because he wasn't in the room with them, they could second guess it, bitch and moan and raise hell. So, but that was just nature of the beast. It hadn't changed today. It's not changed. The business hasn't changed. It's still apprehension, and people are leery. They're paranoid. More are than not. So, but Cowboy was very hands-on, no doubt about that. I mean, to the point where between 1 hour Mid-South shows, I remember one time he's showing, he wanted to show the guys how to throw a kick, and he's wearing his cowboy boots. So he had, first person he came to was Buddy Landell, which I think everybody kind of enjoyed seeing Buddy get kicked, but Buddy was on all fours, and Cowboy picked him out of the crowd, so to speak, and he kicked the shit out of him, and he potatoed him. But Bill didn't perceive it as a potato. He just perceived it as being snug and protecting the business. So, but he was very hands-on in every area. He'd show guys how to throw punches, and sometimes he'd lay it in a little bit, a little stiff, leave a little bruising at times. But he coached his team in all phases of the game. From the line of scrimmage to how do you carry the football. He coached his team, and he knew exactly what he wanted from everybody on the card. Everybody was there, even the guys who were doing favors and working prelims. They were there because they were good at getting somebody over. So, very hands-on.
Very involved. All right. Coach Rodney's up next. Many wrestling experts love to talk about the contribution the Rhodes family has made, but I think they undervalue the Funk heritage. Terry was an amazing wrestler over many decades, but it's the wrestlers like Dory that created, that makes them better. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, my God, both families have contributed immensely. I don't know anybody in a conversation, Paul, that I've ever been joined to that didn't give the respect to the Funks that they've earned. If you really know anything about wrestling and contributions, things of that nature, you know that how much they've contributed and what they meant to the wrestling business. And of course, the Rhodes deal now is very topical because Cody went back to WWE and got his big win at WrestleMania. So that's topical. It's timely. And Dustin still does at 53. He just had his birthday here a few days ago. At 53 years of age, to still work as well as anybody we got or anybody WWE's got. It's go out and have this one match, get this one guy over or whatever you're going to do. Dustin was still very, very good. But their name is timely. It's topical. But boy, the Funks contributed just as much as any family I can think of. You can think only a few: Harts, Funks, Briscoes, the real brothers, the real relatives are in the business. So that's like the question about Cowboy. Was he hands-on? Oh shit, yeah, hands-on, literally. And but he was, yeah. The Funks are. I mean, it's like a no-brainer. And oftentimes the talk is about the Funks and the Briscoes, because what Dusty had with Terry and Junior from time to time. More often with Terry, because they could get the color and they were a little bit more coarse, a little bit more rugged. Dory was just a phenomenal wrestler. He could brawl, but that wasn't his forte. Terry could wrestle, but that wasn't his forte. His forte was brawling. So they were different brothers. But neither family can be given too much credit. They can't. They've just contributed that much. I know Dusty has been very proud to see how Cody did at WrestleMania, and he wasn't wearing polka dots and all that other shit. So
had the whole American Nightmare, the song, the whole deal.
Yeah, he had his AEW act with him.
That's right.
Music, attire. He had and that's good. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Speaking of undervaluing, you can't undervalue what Goliath Life can do for you, because it's time to tell you about something that I'm super passionate, and that's protecting your family. Yes, this is a life insurance ad for GoliathLife.com, but to me, this is really about peace of mind. Think about insurance for a second. We all got medical and auto insurance. Yes, we never even know if we're going to have need for it. But let you in on a little secret. You need life insurance. We're all going to die. Now, as you let that reality sink in, think about what would happen if your family stopped having your income tomorrow. If you don't have a plan for that, you need to visit GoliathLife.com. And I mean right now. Listen, I've lost 2 friends in their 40s in the last year, and I don't even want to think about what their families would be going through had they not had life insurance. If you don't have it, get it. Protect your family. And I suggest you go to GoliathLife.com, because they've made the process of giving affordable life insurance super easy. GoliathLife.com streamlines the life insurance process by allowing you to get quotes from more than 20 carriers within minutes, and you'll pick your terms and payments to fit your budget. You pick your price, you start the online application immediately, and even schedule the medical exam to come to you. I've done it. They sent someone to my office. I skipped the phone calls, the paperwork, and the crazy invasive conversations. GoliathLife.com makes buying life insurance simple. There's no hidden fees, no upsells, no hassle. Hell, not even a phone call. GoliathLife.com is life insurance. It's in your hands, on your time. Get multiple quick quotes right now from the comfort of your own home and begin your application in a few easy clicks right now at GoliathLife.com.
It's about time everybody is a responsible adult, and protecting your loved ones is right at the top of that list of what we all should be doing. Insurance is, you may not want to hear about it, you may not want to talk about it, but you can't live without it. You can, I guess, if you're irresponsible and stupid. Don't be irresponsible and don't be stupid. Get the proper insurance to protect your family and you.
Nate Nasworthy's up next. He said, JR, what were your thoughts on the Tough Enough series, specifically the MTV seasons? Why do you think it didn't necessarily work in making new stars?
Well, I think we made a few new stars. I don't know what the expectations were of this person. I didn't dislike it. I thought it was a good idea. I'm all for having organized systems like NXT at one time, things like that, to help get your talent over. It's all this. Our business is always about developing new talent. Who's going to stick? Who's going to attach to the audience? Who's going to connect? In other words, so I was a good fan of the Tough Enough, and I was managing the talent roster. I was involved in contracts and talking to the kids and young people. And then we loaded it up with some real good instructors from time to time. So I had no issues with it. I thought it worked out pretty well. And that person that asked this question, whoever the hell it was,
Nate,
it wasn't successful. Look, if we got one star out of the whole process, it was worth it. And we got more than one. So, I thought it was I definitely thought it was a success. Could it have been a bigger success? Tweak here and there, and hindsight being 2020, sure. But I thought it was. I never thought it was a failure whatsoever. Still don't.
JR, Peter Ansbacher is up next. He said, what was it like calling some of the old Scott Hall matches when he was Diamond Stud? Did you realize his potential then?
Well, I realized that Scott had really good fundamental skills, very, very good sound tactician, could tell a good story, could work with anybody and make them look better, which is a great gift and great skill set. He didn't have the charisma that he just demonstrated when he became Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon kind of turned his whole thing around, in my view. And he lived it. He perfected it. He believed in it, and it worked for him. So, but you could never discount or not recognize Scott Hall, Diamond Stud, whatever at that time. His wrestling, his intellectual ability to wrestle, to tell a story. But he didn't get the whole package that didn't come together until he became Razor and post-Razor, because he seemed like he just had more confidence in his own charisma. It was always there, but I don't know that Scott even quite believed it could be as good as it was until it happened.
JR, up next, FRA, and he says, do you think AEW on Fridays needs more focus on who they feature? Maybe make the TNT title the focus and build around that?
I guess this, who's this, Carl?
No, it goes by FRA, I believe, if you have Carl there. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it sounds like he doesn't like the show. And he's wanting me to agree with him, which I'm not going to do. Sorry, Carl, or whatever your name is. Apologize. Cal, is that it?
Cal's the next one. So this guy goes by FRA.
FRA, okay, FRA. I'm sure that's your real name.
That's why he's bold.
It's amazing here guys got gimmick names.
Yeah.
Gimmick names on the Q&As. Here earlier on, everything was slap nuts this and slap nuts that.
That's the
Where the hell did that come from?
That's the ad-free show member titles. That's their titles. Yeah. So I get that, but these some of these are our Twitter questions. From your favorite social media platform, Twitter.
Yep. Hey, I'm getting close to 2 million followers.
You're amazing. You are a superstar on Twitter.
I'm on fire. I think that the Friday night show is still a work in progress. We just got started. It's a 1 hour show. It's going to have a different feel and different texture than the 2 hour shows or longer. So we have the talent to load those shows up. And maybe that's what this guy or person is referring to. But I don't have any issues with the Friday night. I like an hour of television. It's following a 2 hour show on Fox called SmackDown. So, I think it's doing fine. So
you don't, yeah.
I don't, it's got to evolve. It's got to develop.
Is this guy trying to get some clickbait out of you so that he can, JR thinks that Friday nights need to do. There you go.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
I don't have any issues with Friday night.
You have not. Yeah. There's nothing there for JR. He thinks they're doing good. Cal wants to know, we're on to Cal. We're in the final 5 questions of this episode. You always talk about Mick Foley and Vince saying you have to learn what it's like for a wrestler to break your heart. What wrestler actually broke your heart?
Nobody. Sorry. We can't all cry together. Cal. That was Vince saying that, not me, about breaking your heart.
Quit playing games with my heart.
Yeah. I don't.
Nobody.
He was just saying that you get so wrapped up in supporting a talent you believe has it and can come in and help you, and then when they fail for a variety of reasons that could cause failure, it could break your heart. I never got my heart broken by talent. My heart's been broken. Owen Hart broke my heart. Brian Pillman broke my heart.
Absolutely.
Eddie Guerrero broke my heart. And all because they died, not because of anything in a wrestling ring.
Great point.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I never had my heart broken by a wrestler. But I understand what Vince is saying to me. It was a very, very good lesson for me to be aware of. And so he's a lot smarter, a lot more intuitive than people want to give him credit, because they'd rather just bash McMahon. It's just more fun. They grew up bashing McMahon, so I guess it's never going to end.
Jay the K wants to know, asked JR, which Oklahoma players in the upcoming NFL draft do you think have the highest potential in the league?
Oh, to go to the NFL?
Yeah, who do you think has the highest potential in the NFL?
Nick, our linebacker. I had a tip of my tongue there.
Let me see if I can find him. Oklahoma.
Nick Benito.
There it is.
He's really good. He's a sleeper. He's probably not going to be a first day pick, but whomever's team gets him on the second day, and I don't think he'll ever last till the third day, are going to get him a hell player. He's a fast edge rushing assassin, and he did a real good job for us. And you can't teach speed, and him rushing coming off the edge or wherever it may be. That speed is his calling card. So I'd say that Nick Benito is probably going to be our top pick this year. But there may be some sleepers. They got some big offensive linemen that probably get lost in a draft at some point, then end up starting or making a team. Coach Bill Beadenbow is our offensive line coach. He's amazing. He's also lives next door to me in Oklahoma, so I'm a little partial. He's my buddy,
as you should be. There you go.
And he's recruited a lot of 6'5", 6'6", 300-pounders that somehow or another two of them are starting in the offensive line for the Chiefs. Creed Humphrey at center, and
I wanted that kid for the Steelers last year. My goodness.
Look at he started every game.
Yeah, he's a stud. I think he made the Pro Bowl.
I think he did too.
Yeah.
He's an Oklahoma boy too, not just Oklahoma University, but he grew up in Shawnee, Oklahoma. He's a Sooner through and through.
All right, Ben, we're down to the final three, JR. What do you think was the most important lesson you learned from working with Bill Watts, Vince McMahon, and Tony Khan? So he's looking for three answers. Most important lesson from each.
Well, that's a hard one. Tony Khan, I admire his bravery to break tradition and to get people in matches that are like dream matches. To me, that's his vision and trying new things. He's not a traditionalist, but he has traditionalist qualities about him. Cowboy and Vince, I haven't worked for Tony for 3 years now. I signed a contract 3 years ago, 3-year deal 3 years ago. So here we are. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Vince would fill volumes of pages because I work with Vince on an administrative level and as a talent. So I got a little bit of all of it in my background, my DNA, and it's all good shit. Cowboy, I got my bachelor's degree from Cowboy. That's how I look at that. I got my advanced degree from Vince.
Master's from Vince. There you go. Your PhD.
I will challenge anybody in wrestling, anywhere, to top my mentors and my influences. Because I think I got the best schooling that I could have ever received from Cowboy and then later Vince and now Tony. They're all different guys. Tony's 35, 37 years old. He's a different mindset. So I learned something from all of them.
So on the flip side of that, who would you say is probably your mentee if you had to pick someone that you've kind of mentored the most throughout your career?
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. It just sparked me when you talked.
I helped a lot of guys, Paul. I helped a lot of guys. I don't know if there's one guy.
Yeah. Okay.
That's that is your clickbait. Ross says blank was his number one.
I'm just curious if there's always kind of one or two guys.
No, there's not one guy
I really poured a lot into. I
helped a lot of guys, and I'm not saying that breaking my arm, patting myself in the back, as Monsoon would say. But I helped a lot of guys. I felt like that was my obligation to play it forward and leave something behind. I'd say right now my biggest the person I'm helping the most now is probably Excalibur. Again, when you get 3 announcers sitting at the same desk, and sometimes 4, and the 3 that are always there have always been play-by-play guys. They're used to leading. It's like dancing. It's like getting your rhythm. So we're all in a unique role in that respect. But I think our 3-man team is strong. At least I believe that. Can we get better? Yeah, and we are. But right now, I'm spending a lot of time helping Excalibur when I can, and it's certainly not that he needs. He's a lost case. He's far from it. He's a hell of a broadcaster. He got ribbed like hell when he got the Observer Award. And everybody said, "What do you think of that, JR? And you guys coming? He's coming after you, or whatever." Okay, whatever.
You got to be proud of him. Yeah.
I was very proud of it. He won it twice. Very proud. But I keep him honest. I said, I think you only got to win 13 more to tie me.
Love it.
Old dog got to get one more bite in, right? One more growl. So, but he's a great student. He's smart. And, I think we have to do a better job of explaining some of the Hispanic named moves. I think we've got to all do a better job of that. Tope el suicido's got to have more to it than that. It's a suicide dive. So I call it a suicide dive forever. Now say tope, and the dive itself is in Spanish, Mexican, Latin is a tope.
That's becoming his trademark. It is his trademark line.
So I think we could do a better job in translating, so to speak, no pun intended, that. But he's really smart. He's conscientious. He's always on time. So I your lot of time for Excalibur. He's a good guy. And of course, Tony and I, we're just like an old pair of shoes.
Peanut butter jelly.
We just put your socks on, put your shoes on. They're always going to fit.
2 more questions. Francis Reyes, why do you think you were not asked to do a full-on series of World of Sports taping instead of the pilot that you were a part of?
Did they have more shows? Maybe it's either a cost matter because I didn't come cheap. I had a great time doing them. I would have done plenty more if they'd asked. But that thing was so infrastructure-wise was a little bit challenging. A huge network like that, a lot of hoops to jump through. But I can tell you that I was there 2 or 3 days, and I loved every minute of it. Had a lot of fun. So, but I don't think it had anything to do with my work. But that's what you're looking for. They like me. I still keep in contact with those people. And I'm sure if I was in a contractual position and they were going to do more wrestling, I would be back helping them. So it was all good to me. I just never was sure how far that was going to move forward. And there might have been a time too where I went back to WWE at that time. That might have been a more lucrative deal, quite frankly, and no travel to the UK.
JR, final question. I have this lengthy Ask JR Anything. Thank you for being a great sport, hanging in there, answering all of these. The Kimono Dragon, speaking of gimmick names, is there anyone in wrestling, past or present, that you wish you would have worked with in your career?
Oh, sure. A lot of guys. I wish I got to work more with Buddy Rogers. I met him 3 or 4 times. I wish I'd have got to work with some of those legends, the Briscoes, Jack and Jerry. I wish I'd have been around in their territories where they were. Been 2 guys I would have loved to work with. You learn a lot from psychology and things of that nature from older guys like Thez, who I knew and I had a great relationship with. But I could have learned a lot more if I spent more time around Lou. Just fundamental stuff. Sometimes there's things not to do. And I was talking to Tony Khan the other night at the UFC, and somebody got another competitor, Kimura, which, as we all know, is nothing more than a double wrist lock. But it's not got the cool name.
The Buzz.
whatever. I don't even know what that is. So what's that?
No, just saying it's more sexy. It gets the buzz going.
Oh, yeah.
Kimura lock. Yeah.
Kimura, yeah. So it's a double wrist lock. And I told Tony, sitting beside him there at ringside, that that was Lou Thesz's go-to. If Thesz was in a territory, their local hero was acting a little cute and thought he might steal one and leave there as the NWA champion by beating the great Lou Thesz, that would have been a huge feather in the guy's cap, and it would have meant a lot for the local promoter. And Lou always had to protect himself with a double wrist lock. I went to Cauliflower Alley Club thing one time with, can't remember what year it was, a few years ago. They're in Iowa. Great group, great fun. I believe in the Cauliflower Alley Club immensely, and I believe in what the guys are doing there in Iowa. And Larry Hennig was there. God bless him. One of my favorite guys to shoot the shit with. And there was somebody had an old picture of Thesz working with Larry. And believe it or not, Thesz had the double wrist lock on Larry Hennig. And Larry said, that son of a bitch would grab you that goddamn double wrist lock, sometimes just to show you that he could put it on you anywhere he wanted, anytime he wanted, and he could break your arm. He said, I said, you having problems with Lou? He said, oh, no. He just wanted to show to me and the boys that are watching, I can do this to any of you anytime I want, and there's nothing you can do about it. That'd be like Brock Lesnar going and walking through the locker and said, I'm going to get one of you guys in a double wrist lock tonight, and there's nothing you can do about it. So there's something to be said for that. So, but I like some of those older guys you can learn a lot from. But, I don't know. There's so many I'll remember guys, and this is all said and done. But you got to remember, I got in the business in '74, Paul. I've seen a lot of guys, famous guys, that were already made men long before I got in the business that I got to know. And that was pretty damn cool. And I had great mentors, too, that helped bring me along and kept me alive and up so we weren't late and all that stuff. Cowboy would find your ass. And when you're making $25 to $40 a night, you get fined $25. So now you're down to $15 if you're on a $40 night. You can't make a living on $15 a night. So you're damn sure going to be on time. So things like that, but working with Watts was a great thrill for me. I loved it.
Well, JR, you said it, started back in '74. We're almost about a year and a half away from that 50-year anniversary of JR in wrestling. Just
hard to believe, man.
It's incredible to think about. That's going to wrap us up for this week. Next week, it's Backlash 2002, the 20-year anniversary. The WWF presented the last WWF pay-per-view of all time. It's all about the draft. Steve Austin walks out for the first time. Then he comes back. The brand split. Hulk Hogan's running wild with the red and yellow all over again. He wins his 6th WWF title. And it's Brock Lesnar's pay-per-view debut. So much going on that show. I'm looking forward to that one, man. I know you are too, JR.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. A lot of significant things happen in and around that show that we'll get into next week. When we get Conrad back,
I think you're going to have him for that show because
you're doing a great job. He's like Johnny Carson now, man. He works about every third week.
He is wasting away in Margaritaville. He's nibbling on sponge cake, watching the sun bake. All those tourists are covered with oil. He's down. I think it's somebody's anniversary or something's going on. But
good for him. He works his ass off. He needs a break.
So
we got to take care of Conrad.
That's right. We need longevity out of him. So there you go. But buddy, let's talk about what you're up to in terms of travel, because he's not the only one traveling. You're headed to Liverpool, April 23rd and 24th. It's a Saturday and Sunday for the love of wrestling, JR. Tell them all about it.
Well, after our Pittsburgh Dynamite event, I'm going to fly to New York City on Thursday. And then I'm going to have a little layover there and then connect to fly into Manchester. Then from Manchester, I'll have a car drive me to Liverpool, and big time autograph meet and greet. Paul, some of those names
Stars
on that list.
Galore. Yeah, Sting, Kurt Angle, Trish, Mickey James, Bray Wyatt, MJF, stars from the past, stars from the future. It's loaded, dude.
I think Alita's going to be there. Tori Wilson.
Yes.
So if I'm very lucky, I'll be near the ladies' booth. I can just nothing else, just glance at them every now and then, you know. But yeah, it's because of COVID. You know, it put the restraints on a lot of us doing those things, and me being in the high risk group, as it's oftentimes pointed out to me, we got a landlocked, so to speak. So I haven't done any appearances in a long time. I'm looking forward to it. Steiners a lot of my favorite people, our favorite wrestlers are on the show. So check out their website, and I think Paul's got that their website stuff. But you know, I think you might be able to order things to get signed online. There might be more ways to participate than just simply.
You got it.
Being there, because everybody can't go to Liverpool.
Go to fortheloveofwrestling.co.uk. fortheloveofwrestling.co.uk. If you Google For the Love of Wrestling, it's going to come right up to the top, and it's all there. Everyone who's going to be there, how it works, how you can get tickets. It is loaded, JR, to your point. Lots of stars.
It's the biggest star-studded event of any appearance I've ever been booked on. The list is long and interesting. I think Earl Hebner's going to be there.
Earl will be there. Yep.
And
JBL, Ted DiBiase. I mean, so many guys.
Can you imagine the real show is going to be after we get back to the hotel and circle the bar.
The Nasty Boys.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that one. I'm glad though. I'm glad because I knew Novs has been sick. I'm glad he's going. And it'd be good to see those guys. You know, with so many, Scott passing away so abruptly and others leaving us prematurely, man, you have a different attitude at my age about who you're going to see and being able to have one more opportunity to interact with them. So I'm really excited about all that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun and heartwarming, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's loaded with talent, a lot of folks. So check it out. JR is going to be there. And my goodness, I see why you want to sit by the ladies' table. You said Tori Wilson, Victoria, Trish Stratus, Mickie James, Lillian Garcia. I mean, Candice Michelle, the list just keeps on going.
I heard it's ironic that many of the people that are appearing there were my signees.
Yes.
So it'll be fun to catch up, talk old times. Maybe they're not mad at me for a payoff they got in Sheboygan at some point in time, and everything will be cool.
You know what? Time seems to heal all that stuff. So
yeah,
I'm sure you're going to have a good time. So
no
go.
doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt, buddy. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun as hell.
Before we get out of here, JR, we got to talk about jrsbbq.com because we got to make sure everyone knows about where they can find the awesome products, Chipotle ketchup, honey mustard, all that good stuff. The all-purpose seasoning. Let's talk a little bit about what they can find over at jrsbbq.com.
Well, we got assortments. We got boxes that contain different multiple products. It's kind of cool. Great gift ideas. Little boxes where they come in. But it's as simple as one bottle of sauce. We got you covered. But we have all kinds, like I said, different packages where you get like a variety pack. I believe for a wrestling fan, they're probably about as good a gift idea as you could come up with. We have a lot of signed things on our site. I sign a lot of things. I sign the books, personalize them. You can still order a book on our site, and I'll personalize it to whomever. And I like doing that. It's kind of fun. So it's more than just sauce. We got mule mugs. Those little copper mugs that are customized are really cool, look good, classy looking. So we got a lot of things on our menu, shall we say, other than just something you ingest. So check us out, see what you think. Costs nothing to look. jrsbbq.com with our thanks.
There you go. And that's where you can get his autograph, not at the Cotton Bowl. No, just go to jrsbbq.com and take care of it there. JR, thank you so much for doing this episode with me today. Ask JR anything. We went through a lot of questions, and you were a real trooper with that, so appreciate it. Till next time, on behalf of the voice of wrestling, Jim Ross, this is Paul Bromwell. Thank you for joining us today on Grilling JR.